Are you working with someone you can't stand? We've all been there. Working with people I want to punch in the throat has been called relatable and laugh out loud hilarious. Read the stories about all the crazy people Jen Mann has worked with over the years. Find out who she wants to punch in the throat. Working with people I want to punch in the throat is now available everywhere books are sold.
Hi, I'm Denise Grover-Swank.
And I'm Jen Mann.
And we are two Midlife Mommas.
Hello.
Welcome to our podcast. Yes. So this is our 4th episode today. I noticed listening to our episodes, we tend to get less chatty.
Do we really?
After we're like on number 4. Because I guess we're all like talked out.
It's so funny you say that. Because just as we started, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to say.
Well, I will say that most of our conversations tend to be spontaneous. Like
they do.
We don't really prepare much for these. I'm sure you can't tell.
I was going to say, as if you didn't know, we're working without a script.
Yeah, we do. Like the last couple of ones, we've gotten information from the internet. We've read some articles to like give us some facts to put out there.
Yeah.
So,
a good research
but like
department.
we don't ever talk about what we're going to talk about to kick us off or
no, we don't. We kind of work with a bullet list. We're like, let's hit this topic and let's hit that topic. But by the 4th one, we are getting kind of tired. So we'll try to be chattier because that's not very nice.
That's right. No, we're good in the podcast. It's just at the beginning. Like,
we're
just like dive right in.
Like we've covered everything.
That shit.
Yeah. What are you wearing, Denise? Like,
I'm wearing a shirt that
she didn't fit into until this month.
Yeah, that's right.
Excuse me. No, well, today we're going to talk about invisibility.
Yes.
And I would like to think it's a superpower, but I guess it's not. Right? I've heard it's not now. That now as we reach middle age, that we're becoming more and more invisible. And
I didn't really realize this was a thing until you brought up the topic.
Yeah.
And then I actually did some research, and apparently is a thing.
It's a thing.
But I guess I don't know. I hadn't really thought about it. So
yeah.
So and the premise is that as we get older, like 40s, 50, that middle-aged women tend to become invisible to both the youth, to men, just to society in general.
And I would even add to the invisibility, there's almost like a disdain as well.
Yes.
Like I kind of feel like I feel like there's a lot of eyes rolling.
Yes. And okay, so case in point, like I was like thinking because I know that a lot of midlife women are now looking younger. We talked about this in a previous episode. Are looking younger. We're like fitter than our parents were. We like if you compare pictures of me in my 40s to my mother in her 40s, we look vastly different. And I would probably guess the same as you and your mother, right? Because we just we're putting more effort into slowing aging and looking younger. But like a lot of times when you think of middle-aged women, you think of like Kathy Bates in Fried Green Tomatoes. Yeah. Right?
Tawanda.
Yeah. I had her watch that with me about a month ago.
Like
she loved it. Yeah.
Animal.
But like that's what you think of when you think of a middle-aged woman. Like someone who's kind of dowdy and like used to being tromped on and like she has no say. Like she tries to get a parking spot in the grocery. If you haven't seen that movie, you do yourself a favor and go watch it. So she's like trying to pull into a parking spot and 2 young women pull in and steal it, right? And she's like her husband has ignored her needs and wants, and she's like become friends with this woman in a nursing home, and like she's like learned to be strong based on the woman's friends. Like she's telling her stories of her youth and stuff. And she's like, I'm not. She's invisible. Yeah. And so she's like, I'm not going to take it anymore. And she like crashes her car repeatedly into these girls' car because she wants to be seen.
I'm older and I have better insurance.
Yeah, right. Yeah, she says what she says. She's older and has better insurance. Yeah. And so that's what I think. I mean, I think that's what a lot of people think of when they think of middle-aged women.
I just think it's almost like to the point where I notice it. So I'm like 5 feet tall, and so when I get on an airplane, I have a very hard time reaching the overhead bin. And when I was younger, I noticed that men and women, but mostly men, would like help me with my bag.
Right.
And then when I was in like my 30s, I would have really young men, like 19, 20-year-old men that would help me with with my bag. And I would think like, oh, look at me.
Let me help you, ma'am.
Right. So I would think, oh, look at me. Like, I still got it, you know? And then one young man was like, oh, you remind me of my mom. And I was like, your mom? I'm like, I'm 11 years older than your son. Like, you know? And so
hush your mouth.
I was like, I cannot be your mother. And now it's like, I don't remind them of their grandma yet. So nobody helps me with my bag.
Right.
And then like the men my age are sort of like, you go get it, strong, independent woman.
Right.
You know, which, yes, I am until it comes time to put my bag in the overhead bin.
Height challenge. It has nothing to do with being a...
And I don't remember if I told this story on the podcast or not. I know I've told it like on the internet, so stop me. But a few months ago now, we were in St. Louis for a book signing conference together. And there were all these women getting boxes of books in.
Yes.
We were loud. A lot of us are middle-aged. We're loud. We're kind of taking up a lot of space, which is bad, you know? And so, and I was trying to haul in a box of books, a whole bunch of stuff. I decided I was going to do everything in one trip because, you know, that's what I do.
Yeah, me too.
Fuck 2 trips. And so I've got it all piled up precariously. And I get to this, and I'm in the parking garage, and I get to this point where you have to like open this door to get into where the elevator section is. And I'm thinking like, oh, how am I going to do this? Okay, let me think. And as I'm walking up, the elevator's doors open and a man steps off. And he's like about our age. And he steps off and I think, oh, good. Like he'll open the door. And it's a glass door and we meet and we make eye contact on the opposite sides of the door. And he just stands there.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, motherfucker.
How
and,
rude, yeah.
And so, of course, I'm like, all right, bitch. And so I was like, I'll open the door. So I open the door and I'm trying to like hold the door with my butt and like slide my boxes through. And he's just watching me. Like he just stands there watching me with like the biggest like look of just disgust on his face. And I'm like, yes, I get it. Whatever. And then everything, of course, topples over and makes a huge mess. And now I'm like trying to clean it all up. And he's still standing there. And so when I am mad, my defense is sarcasm. So I looked up at him and I said, that's okay. I got it. And then he goes, good. And stepped over me.
Oh my God.
Stepped over me. His balls like rubbed the top of my head.
Oh I was my gosh.
I was like, your balls did not just touch the top of my head. And he just stepped over me. And I was like so stunned that he did that I didn't know what to do. Like everyone was like, you should have like punched him. I'm like, I should have. Oops, you know. But I was just so stunned that like he would like step over me. Like
that's crazy.
And he just like left me sitting there, you know, in this with all my stuff and then walked past me and got to his car and turned back and looked at me and I was like, asshole. And he called me a bad word too, but I won't say it on the internet because we don't like that word. It's the word that the women don't like to be called. And when he called me that, I just wanted to go back and slash his tires. Yeah, but he'd already left. But I just thought, how, like, I'm literally, like, you literally stepped over me. Like, I was right here. Like, I didn't remind you of your grandma. I didn't remind you even of your wife. Like, you didn't even think to yourself. And I said later when I was writing about it on the internet, I said that it wasn't so much that I felt like as a gentleman he should have done this, just as a decent fucking human being. Yeah, amen, like, right? That's my thing, too, is, like, I think...
Yeah, no, it's just if I saw a man, like, coming through a door with a bunch of stuff, I would hold the door open. I'd be like, oh, hang on a second. It has nothing to do with, being a lady or a gentleman. It has...
If I saw a kid, I mean, it didn't, like, it's just being a human being.
Yes.
And that's the part I'm getting frustrated with right now is that I feel like, we're being overlooked, like, and that there's a lot of disdain for women our age, that we take up space and we take up, apparently I'm taking up too much oxygen.
Especially because we're becoming more vocal. Like, I never was, like, when I was younger, I paid attention to politics and, listened to talk radio and that kind of thing. And then I got busy and I kind of ignored politics. And I just, like, voted, a party line. And I was Republican. I voted Republican until Obama, right? Yeah. That's just what I was. That's what I voted. And then it wasn't until this year that I started or actually when Trump was elected or before the election,
leading up to it.
Yeah, I was like, started paying more attention. I was like, oh, wait a minute. I'm not sure I like the way things are going, the direction things are heading right now. And I need to start paying attention. And I haven't before. And it's my civic duty to pay attention to what's going on. And so, yeah, a lot of, and I think it's been surprising to a lot of people, especially politicians, that midlife women are like standing up like me for the first time and taking, paying attention to politics and wanting to have a voice. Like, I know a woman who's she's probably in her 30s, late 30s. She was woke politically, for a better term, with the whole Trump election, and she had never been involved in politics, and now she's a city councilwoman.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think we're seeing that we're seeing more women. And like, I've been watching, this is the week of like the impeachment hearings, some of them, and I've been watching, and it's been interesting to see how many middle-aged women are giving their testimony and saying that, I saw this, I wasn't comfortable with this. Like, they're speaking out, and they're the ones who are getting attacked on Twitter. Yes. Like, they're the ones, like,
the former...
the ambassador and and it's like all these things. Like, there was a woman today,
and a highly respected woman,
super respected,
like done nothing but and she, the thing is like, she was under the Ford administration, and
and I think that's the thing too. Like, if we're not invisible, then we are just being attacked too. Like,
there's no line. There's no line of respect.
Right. I was just gonna say that. Like, I feel like there's not a lot of respect, and I feel like, at least unless it's our own peers. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel a lot of respect from women our age, but I don't feel a lot of respect from younger women, older women, men especially, and that's the part that like frustrates me, because yes, I've always been mouthy, but I've never been mouthy and gray haired and, older. And, it's like, I vote with my pocketbook. I vote with, and that's the thing too. Like, even I see it, even with like branding a lot of times too, like if you're an Instagram person or something like that, it's like, I've reached out many times to different brands, and I'll say like, hey, you should have me do something. And they're just like, oh, I've literally received replies. Oh, you're not the demographic we're looking for.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, I'm sorry. I believe 30 to 45-year-old women buy a ton of shit. Like,
Well, okay. So as authors, like, we advertise. And so I like run ads on Facebook. And so I have women's fiction, and I've done it with Christine Gale. She's my co-author, and she runs the Facebook ads. But she has pointed out that it is much cheaper to target ads towards women who are 40 and above.
Is that right?
Because nobody else is.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now we're all going to rush out there and buy ads.
Right?
No, but it's like, and that's the thing. I mean, I think that like once we hit like that 40 mark, like they're just like, oh, you guys don't really, unless it's poise pads, there's really nothing we can market to people.
Right. Or those sleep beds. Or the chairs.
Hey,
or the chairs that like stand up. The chairs that stand up. You see it late night.
The walk-in bathtub.
Yeah.
And that's everything. Like, those women are always like 50.
I know.
It's always,
I know. I'm like, what the hell?
It's always like some 50-year-old woman who's like, I can't get up. I'm like, oh, please. Like, you're running marathons.
Yeah,
like,
right?
Stop that. No, I don't even think I could sell. I mean, shit. I'll tell you what. If the walk-in bathtub people want to pay me, I will promote walk-in bathtubs. I mean, I will. Because I do love a good bath. And I will walk into one. But no, I think, though, that it's like, they don't think that we buy anything. They don't think that we count for anything. And part of it, it's interesting. Of course, I don't like Trump. I am not happy that he's our president. But I did think it was interesting when they kept talking about how white women are the ones who pushed him over the edge, and made him win. And I was like, God damn it. Like, the one time we do something, like the one time that you see us and then we are like actually doing something, like we did that shit. Like, what the hell, And so then I feel like I have to like constantly apologize, and be like, sorry, that wasn't me. Not all white women, And so, so there is, and that's the part that gets me. Like, we do have power. Clearly, we have some power.
Yes.
And, and imagine
we just
if
don't use it.
No, I was just saying, imagine if we could harness all of our middle-aged women of all types of people and get us all together and harness our power, what we could do.
Yeah.
And so I think, I started getting upset when the AARP started emailing me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, but then I started noticing there's like they have a blog, and so many of my friends who I'd who have come up with as mommy bloggers, like they're all blogging now for the AR people.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm just like, oh, sister, like, okay, that's where we are now. But I think like there's not a lot of in between. Like there's not much.
Yeah, right? You're either old or you're young. Yes. And then you're in the middle. You're just like in a holding pattern until you travel to the next part, apparently.
Yes. Like what is there for us in the middle, I guess.
And like, so like I've mentioned before that like aging has bothered me in my 50s more than I expected. Like I was totally fine. I loved my 40s. But once I hit 50, I think you face your mortality some. But like something about it like bothered me. And like I really struggled with okay, well, why? Because you're alive. So hello. But I think it's more of the you're perceived as old and maybe like it's almost time to put you out to pasture. So we're just got you in a holding pattern until we can like And
I think about like I still have 3 grandparents that are in their 90s at this point.
I know, right? Like most people live till they're 80s.
Yeah,
now.
like at what point?
Like we're still like we got some time left.
There's got to be something between like going off to college and first job and then ARP. Like there has to be something and we're out of the baby stage. We're out of like motherhood is a defining role for me still, but it's not the defining
role. Me too,
role.
right? Yeah, exactly.
I think like for a while there when I
was very consumed with motherhood, and I made no secret of the fact that I love being a mother. And for a while I was very consumed with motherhood, but not so much anymore. Like I put my career, I put my children first always, but it wasn't like the end all be all. Right. It was like, okay, I have this now. This is my job. This is what I can do.
Right. Or I meet people who will say like, oh, I don't read because I'm a mom. Like I'm busy with my kids, and I get that. Like when I had babies, I started when
you're little, you're like so busy, and there's just
like I started blogging. With
I
my
read
kids.
Magazines. Like I quit reading books because I didn't have time. Right? Yeah.
Well, that's it. I started blogging when my kids were 3 and 5, and and it was just because I finally had like I could see the light. I was like, oh look, like there's time to read, there's time to do stuff. But I think like now that we're out of that stage, and it's not as consuming. And so now we're in the career phase, and I feel like, okay, I've got to get this all done before I get too old. But now do you see younger writers though? Like I go to these conferences and I see 20-year-old debut authors, and I'm like, damn it.
I know, right? Well, and I think that's part of it, especially like when I write romance, people want to consider like there are some romance authors who are very successful who capitalize on their youth and their appearance in their relationships, and I don't have a relationship. I'm not like a supermodel in any way, shape, or form, and so like I think I worry too a little bit that my age could hurt me professionally because I'm not seen as I'm not obviously not got my hair short and and teased up like I'm in my 60s. Yeah. But it's still I'm worried that stereotype could hurt my career. That what does she know about romance? So,
and I'm writing a book about middle age, and so then I think like, this is who I am now? Like
right.
Like am I just gonna be like the middle-aged lady? Like that's what I do? Like which is not a terrible thing. I mean, if this book goes well and I become the middle-aged lady, like, okay, great. Like, I'm sure I will be very happy with that, and my publisher will be very happy with that. But then I'm like, but then what's next? Like, because I started as, like, a mommy blogger.
Right.
And I would write about my little kids stuff, and then I was bigger kid stuff, and now it's like me and my...
You're going to have to get a dog.
Oh, I will. I'll become, like, a doggy blogger. I will. And like, but it's just like, do I write then about my 70s? Like, is that what I'm going to write about?
I know, right?
I got to pivot to fiction. So that way I can just.
You have to, yeah.
So that
we should co-write something.
We should do that. Let's do that. Because man, I got to get out of this rut.
Yeah.
So like, I'll be like 80, like writing a book in the nursing home. I'm like, tell me how you feel about being 80. Marge, do you love your walk-in tub? Only we won't be Marge. Well, I'll be Brittany's and Jenny's. And
right?
We won't be Marge's.
I know.
Like, what's that going to be like, too?
That'll be weird, right? All the names you associated with youth are going to be, And now the old names will be the young people. Yeah. Because, they like circled back to older names.
Oh, gosh. Just yesterday, I was signing a book for 2 little girls, and their names are Adele and Georgia.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, those are little old lady names, And there was somebody else I met. Oh, Maisie. I met a Maisie recently. I mean, there's...
Eleanor?
Yes.
Yeah, like I consider naming Ross Eleanor after my grandmother and my husband's mother. And everybody thought that was so weird. I'm like, well, I would call her Ellie, but but now Eleanor's a name.
I said yeah, but that was like the land of Brittany's back then.
Yeah, right.
Kinley, and you had to spell it with 2 E's and
and even like Julia is considered old fashioned.
Julia
and I like people are like, oh, you just pulled that one out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So
it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
So but I don't know. Like I guess the invisibility thing though, I just keep trying to make myself more vocal, which is kind of funny because my daughter was struggling a little bit at school with some mean girl stuff and not fitting it. And my son's advice was, well, don't be so loud. Don't take up and
no, he did.
He did. We're checking to make sure he's still mine. But he's like, just don't draw so much attention to yourself. And then maybe people won't dislike you.
And you're like, oh hell no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if anything, I double down. Like, I'm just like, oh, no, I will not. I was thinking this morning about that poem. Was it like rage against the dying light? And I'm like, it wasn't because he was going blind. It was because he was middle-aged. Yeah. I'm just raging against the dying light. And I think that that's part of it, too, is that we are more vocal, and we're kind of not going as quietly as our mothers did.
No, exactly. We're definitely not going as quietly.
And I think that no one really talked about it. Like when I went off to college, my mom now talks about like she was lonely and things were different for her.
It was just the way it was.
Yeah, like she was a stay-at-home mom, and she's like, I didn't have a job, I didn't have anything, and suddenly now I had no purpose in my life,
Right.
And we've talked a lot about purpose before, and I think it kind of comes back to it's kind of all connected.
It's all connected. Everything we talk about is connected.
Yeah, and then it's like, without the purpose, you maybe will dim faster.
Yes. Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think another problem like with invisibility is like women who have stayed home with their children and raised their children. So they went to college, they had a career, then they had children and stayed home for 10, 20 years, and then they trying to find their purpose want to go back out into the workplace, and it's like everything's moved past them.
Yeah,
like people don't want to consider like raising children is not to be a career, when it's actually like there's a lot of coordination and like juggling, and that are great skills for the workplace. But mostly, and I think it's a lot of men who like don't recognize their skills for what they are. So yeah.
Well, and then I think there's also, I've been seeing this a lot in the Midlife Bites group, that there's a lot of invisibility at home.
Definitely.
That it's not just in public. Like it's bad enough when I'm out in public and I'm invisible, but when I'm home, it's even worse, because those are the people who are supposed to be on my side.
Do you feel invisible at home?
Well, no, because according to my son, I'm very loud and I take up a lot of space. So, I just don't think that. No, I don't feel invisible at home, but I'm also very, very vocal.
Right.
Like, I think I'm not a very good wife, probably. Like, if most people... Like, I read these stories or a blog post or whatever about these women and how they... how can I ask my husband to help more around the house? I'm like, how?
You just tell him.
You just do. Like, what is it that Yoda says? Like, do not try? Like, you just do.
Right.
And maybe that's a problem, but I'm like, no, we all live here.
Right.
We all need to do things. Today, my son had a doctor's appointment. I'm trying to make the appointment. This is the only time they have was today. My husband, I was like, yeah, that's fine. He'll take my son. And my son was with me, and he was just like, are you sure Dad's okay with that? And I was like, is Dad okay with that? I was like, A, he is your parent.
Right.
I was like, B, we share a calendar. I can see he has nothing going on at that time.
Right.
C, he has a car and knows how to drive it. So yeah, I think he's okay with that.
And he's capable of communicating.
Yeah. And so it's like, we got out of there. I called my husband. I was like, by the way, Thursday, I'm with Denise. You need to take him to the doctor. And he was like, okay.
Right.
And so... I think that's part of it, is like, you just have to ask for help too. Yes. I think a lot of men play that card though, where they act like,
oh yeah, they're helpless. I can't do this. Yeah, I don't know how to do laundry. How do I do this?
Or you do such a much better job at it.
Yes, famous line.
And I'm just like, no, I'm good. Yeah. And so at home, I'm not as invisible. I think I'm more invisible. I mean, my son is just tough. 15-year-old boys are just dicks. They're just really a tough age. And he does not respect what I do for a living. He does not think that it is a real job, or like, he's always shocked whenever like anybody like recognizes me. He accuses me of planting that person.
Oh my gosh, is he like serious?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
He's just like, that person's not a fan. Like, you don't even know them. Like, you paid them. I'm like, yes, I slipped her $10 in the parking lot. I was like, do me a favor, come up to me.
I'm trying to impress my son. Will you pretend like you know me?
Yeah. And he, it's like one day I think he saw like my spreadsheet like with my sales in it, and he was like,
he didn't believe it.
Well, he just was like, you've sold that many books? I was like, yes, asshole, like you can go now.
Right.
So I think it's more that, but for him, like, because it's him, I don't care. Like, if my husband treated me that way,
right,
and I see that a lot, and that goes back,
and other women, yes,
and that kind of goes back to like our conversation earlier about gossiping, that it's like where you are putting up with that.
Yes.
And
you have to take a stand.
You do.
Yeah.
We are a partnership.
Yeah.
And so I can handle being visible anywhere else but home.
Yeah, I'm definitely not invisible at home. Sometimes I'm a little too visible at home. Because the children say like I'm the sun and they're the planets that like circle around me. So like my children like to be with me and we hang out a lot. So I'm definitely not invisible. I've talked before about how, my love language is, acts of service. And they will they will do things for me. And like sometimes they'll gripe if I ask them to do things and they don't want to do it right then. And I totally get that. I'm the same way. But then I also do things for them, right? So because and like I make my son breakfast every morning. I'm making pancake. And it's like it takes me like 10 minutes. Like I've got it down, right? But then I was thinking about it. I'm like, well, a lot of people are like, oh God, like you're terrible. Like, oh, you're spoiling him. And I'm like, okay, well, I've only got him so many years. This is an act of service. This is like a sign of love for me. And other people have other ways of showing it. But yeah, so like when I was like my first marriage, my husband didn't do anything around the house. And I put up with a lot of shit from him. And then when I would ask him to do things, it was like, well, if you quit nagging me, I do it, which he never did it. And then I was finally like, well, I don't have to put up with this shit anymore. And I got divorced. I also realized from the beginning that I was only 19 when I got married the first time. So I didn't know I wasn't even aware of who the fuck I was at that point, right? But I didn't like put down my foot down and say, okay, this is a partnership. We're going to share responsibilities. What do you want to be responsible for, and what am I going to be responsible for? And so like that is something I will definitely tell my children as they enter into relationships, that you need to lay the groundwork right away, especially my daughters. What is your spouse going to help you with in the household duties? Because a lot of these women, and I think sometimes too, like a lot of them, me, like in my marriages, you just go into it kind of starry-eyed, oh, we're in love, everything's going to be happily ever after. And then you get into the relationship of it. And it's like this unfair distribution. And in my first marriage, it was like, oh, well, that's just the way it is. Well, hell no, that's not just the way it is, especially now. And so, I think, but I think a lot of women have started their relationships and they didn't lay the groundwork, and now it's just like built and built and built, and their husbands take advantage of them, and then children take advantage of them, and and they feel invisible, they feel used and taken advantage of, and
well, and I think it's hard to I had written something a long time ago about parenting, about setting boundaries, and I remember a friend of mine had talked to me about it, and she said, I just feel like I'm just too lazy like to enforce those boundaries all the time. And I was like, oh yeah, you can't let up. Like, right. And I think it's the same way with this invisibility thing. Yes. Is that you can't be invisible for one day and then tomorrow I want to be visible. Like you have to constantly be reinforcing that boundary and reinforcing like where the line is. Yes. I would see this a lot with my mom. She would let my brother get away with stuff where he would do the whole like, he would do it really bad. And my mom's a big perfectionist. Yes. And so then my mom would be like, oh, forget it. I'll just do it myself. Right. And I don't fall for that. You know, I'm just like, you can make it look like shit. Yeah. I'll just make you come back and do it again. Right. Exactly. Exactly. But then I was sitting here thinking while you're talking, and I was like, I am also guilty of doing the whole, like, you do it so much better. The light in my closet went out this morning and it's high. You need a ladder. Yeah. And you got to get up there. And I really don't want to do it. And so I was telling my husband, I was like, hey, the light went out. And he's like, okay, well, you know where the ladder is. And I was like, yeah, but I was like, you do it so much better than me. Like, you're so much better on the ladder than I am. And so he was just like, what are we doing right now? I'm like, just change the bulb. Like, I beg you. Like, don't make me do it all. But, so I think that's the other thing too, is a lot of times I'll say that. Like, don't make me do everything.
Right.
I change every other light bulb in this house.
Yeah. Can you change one?
Can you just change the light bulb? Because I don't think my love language is acts of service, but it kind of is. I think you're right.
Have you done the quiz?
No, I think
you
I need to.
You really need to do that. Yeah.
Because I think especially with my husband, because we are not, like, he is not romantic. Like, he does not give me gifts. But, like, the other night when I left.
So gifts is probably not his love language.
It's not. Yes. But I do like gifts too.
So gifts is probably one of your love languages.
I think every language is my love language.
Well, some people, like, it tells you percentages.
Yeah.
So you can see if you're really strong on something.
Yeah.
Usually people have two very dominant love languages. Yeah.
See, and so for him, like, he's not a very good gift giver, so I don't expect a lot from him.
Yes.
But, like, the other night when I was leaving, the light bulb in my garage door opener had gone out. And I really hate that. I really hate being in the dark in a garage. Yeah. And I had called him and from the car and said, hey, my light is out in the garage. Can you take a look and see what's going on with it? Knowing full well it just needs to be a new bulb. Yeah. And I was like, but my car is out right now. It'd be a really good time to do it. Right. And at the time I thought, I'm going to nag him for the next week to get that done. I just know it. Yeah. And I got home and it was done. And I was like, babe, I want to have sex with you. Like,
it's a reward.
Yeah. I was like, damn, So I think that's the thing too, is that, like, when they do, like, when he does show me that I am visible to him.
Yes.
It is, he gets rewarded.
That's right. Yeah. I love it.
So, man, the way to my heart is to change my light bulbs.
Yeah, exactly, right?
And the way to Denise's heart is to sweep the floor.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it totally is. It's so sad.
Well, it's like that meme. Remember that meme where they used to show you, like, men doing dishes and they were like the hottest thing I've ever seen? Like, it's 100% true.
It's totally true. Yeah. That's the best way to get your wife to want to go to bed with you.
Yeah. Oh, dear.
Oh, man. Well, on that note,
we have blown another 30 minutes talking about our nonsense, but we are so glad you're with us still.
Yes.
And we hope that you're subscribing to the podcast and that you're following us everywhere you can follow us.
Yes. We have a Facebook page, at 2 Midlife Mommas, and we do giveaways from time to time. We have a website, 2midlifemommas.com, and yeah.
And then if you follow Denise Grover Swank and Jen Mann, you can find us everywhere you find your books. We encourage you to try one and let us know.
Yes.
Only what you think if it's good, though. Only if you like it.
If you don't like it, I don't want to know.
Yeah, Denise is getting a lot of mail lately. So if you've got... Why don't you send her something nice? That's her love language, too. That is totally my love language. I love to get
words
emails.
Of affirmation. Yes, mine too. Mine is acts of service. Second is words of affirmation.
Yeah. So if you want to show us how much you love us, send us an email and tell us how much you enjoy our podcast. This week, someone told me that she listens to it, like, when she's driving to work. And so it was kind of nice to think about, like, when and where people are listening to it.
Yeah. So tell us where you listen and what you're doing when you're listening. So
all right,
that'd be great. Okay.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week.
Okay. Talk to you later. Bye. Hi, Denise here. I know you're sad because the podcast episode is over and now you have to wait an entire week to hear us again. But guess what? You don't have to wait. You can listen to one of our audiobooks. Like to listen to true crime podcasts? I've got several mystery series to choose from. Or maybe you prefer to listen to podcasts about The Bachelor. Check out one of my rom-com series. You can find these audiobooks and many more at Audible, Apple Audiobooks, or check out my website, DeniseGroverSwank.com, and click on Audiobooks in the menu at the top. Happy listening!